YouTube! Welcome back to another iteration in the series where we take creators from other communities and drag them in to the game that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Today, we are joined by Hearthstone extraordinaire, Alliestrasza. Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Ali, please tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're a big deal and why we should be interested in your content.
Well, my name is Allie, and I've been a Twitch streamer for over 8 years now, so I'm old, you know, little Twitch veteran at this point, but I've been playing Hearthstone mostly as my main game over that time period, and done the YouTube thing and, you know, all the different social and content creation type of stuff. Also competed in tournaments, you know, across the world in Hearthstone over the years, and yeah, I love card games, so that's why I'm here.
Except Yu-Gi-Oh, apparently.
Look, there's a lot of card games. I've tried a lot. I unfortunately didn't, I missed the boat on Yu-Gi-Oh when I was young, and then Hearthstone was the first card game that I tried, actually, because it was, really approachable and everything. So I've played many in my day, but just didn't quite get to Yu-Gi-Oh, unfortunately, so. But hey, this might make for an entertaining video, at the very least.
First of all, we need to know the mystery of your Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge.
The history of my Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge is pretty slim. I gotta admit, I don't know much. Very, very little. So I am a little bit nervous, especially with that intro dragging us in. So we'll see how it goes.
I guess a question to try and set the bar here. Do you know what the difference is in a normal and a special summon?
Nope. I do not. I think maybe once upon a time I was aware, but it's been so long, so I'm gonna just say no for the sake of this video.
Okay, it's been a while, I suppose, but we may or may not start coming back to us, I suppose, as I start describing some things to you.
Okay.
All right, so what I've got for you today is I'm going to be presenting to you 5 cards. Some of them are really good. Some of them are really bad. There is an easy way for a Yu-Gi-Oh player to analyze and break down whether or not these cards are really good or really bad. Your job is to read these cards and decide for yourself if they are one or the other. And based on that, you'll be awarded the point. If you can get 3 out of 5, minimum, well, I suppose you'll be doing better than most of our guests. So how does that sound?
That sounds great. Chat, comments, don't judge me. I'm gonna try my best here, but we'll see how it goes.
We just barely know what a normal summon is, so I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. So here's your first card here. I'm going to send it on over to you. Give it a read and, yeah, describe it and give me your thought process as you go through it.
Okay, so we've got Foolish Burial, which is a spell card. Send 1 monster from your deck to the graveyard.
I guess burning is the term maybe you'd be familiar with, kind of. Although burning in Hearthstone has a little bit of, I want to say, permanence to it compared to other card games. Yeah,
sending 1 monster from your deck to the graveyard. I mean, I guess my rationale is this thinning the deck to get to something more powerful? I could see this having some utility in some, for maybe a specific archetype. So, you know, sending my own monsters to the graveyard doesn't theoretically seem good, but I'm gonna say that that it's a good card because there's some reason that you would want to play this.
And just as, I suppose, a bit of elaboration or guess in some way, what could you do when you described, I think you said utility was your exact word, for sending a monster? What do you imagine could happen? If you're just sending a monster or burning a monster in a way.
Yeah, I would think that there are probably other cards that interact with the graveyard, maybe you pull cards out of your graveyard, or, you know, for however many monsters are in your graveyard do X damage, you know, something along those lines. I feel like if this card exists, there's probably good reason for it, and so that's why I'm coming to the conclusion that it's potentially a decent card.
Okay. So final answer, good card?
Final answer, yep.
Well, you're off to a good start because Foolish Burial is indeed a very good card. A very, very powerful card. As a 1-card combo in some decks, it is A game that has so much utility, and some people even describe the graveyard as your second hand. That's how relevant it is in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah. Unlike Hearthstone, which is, I guess, when you burn a card, it's very hard to interact with. I think maybe Resurrect is the only way you can ever get cards.
Yeah. Resurrect cards are a thing, or, a death rattle, for a minion that's died this game. Like, there are some interactions there, but in general, like, amongst card games, there really is no, like, graveyard pool that you're pulling from all that often. So, yeah.
Yeah, so in Yu-Gi-Oh! The actual playing field is set up in a way where you physically see your graveyard, unlike Hearthstone, which is, it's basically just gone. You never really get to see the pool, at least on the interface from what I'm aware of. But in Yu-Gi-Oh!, like I said, the graveyard is such an important pivotal point of the game that you can literally do one-card combos with Foolish Burial. And this card is currently limited to 1 in the standard game.
Wow, okay, so it must be pretty good if you can only have 1 of it. All right, whew. Off to a decent start then. Let's go.
100%. All right. The next cards here.
All right. The next card we got is Vengeful Bog Spirit. Monsters cannot attack the turn they are summoned. And it's a spell card.
There's a key point you've missed here before you start analyzing. It is a spell card, but you see that little symbol beside it?
Yes.
So that's known as a continuous spell. What that means is that you activate it and it places face up and it stays there. Well, theoretically forever until it's removed somehow by your opponent or yourself with a card effect. So it's permanent. It just stays there for the whole game.
Okay. All right. So I feel like monsters cannot attack the turn they are summoned. So that's weird for me because usually
that's how the game works.
Yeah, that's how the game works. In most card games, there's summoning sickness, right? So I guess that's not how Yu-Gi-Oh! Works. I would think that, stopping the attacks. Okay, I feel like maybe if there was a control deck kind of thing and you were playing this as more like a bad thing for your opponent, and then you have ways, like you aren't reliant on attacking immediately, like you have other win conditions, but this like significantly slows down your opponent's game plan. I feel like this could be good. Like I don't. In theory, it does not seem good to me. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to attack, but I just feel like there might be a deck that would, utilize this well. So I think I'm gonna say a good card again.
So this is so in Yu-Gi-Oh! Every monster has charge unless stated otherwise, like on the card effect. So that is just the natural state of the game is anything you summon or special summon or bring out of your extra deck, they all have charge. Well, and I assume charge also works like rush. You can hit face and you can go to the monsters.
Rush you can only attack into other minions or creatures on the board, but you can't go face. Yeah, I mean, honestly, this card seems bad. Like, I don't know why we would want to not be able to attack, but sometimes in card games, I feel like there's a card that's usually bad in every other situation, but like finds a way to work in a specific deck. So, okay. If that is true for this card, would I rate it good or bad? Because, like, if it was good in one situation but bad the majority of the time, like, where does that leave us?
Let me give you a little bit more context as well. So every Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster has taunt. You can't attack directly unless you go through the monsters.
Okay.
I wonder if that helps at all.
The cogs are... I don't know if that has affected my decision or not. It just is delaying getting through other monsters, but on both sides, so to me it just kind of neutralizes the game, if both players are having to do this. So okay, I've changed my mind. Bad card.
Okay, you've somehow talked yourself into the correct answer. Congratulations. Vengeful Bog Spirit isn't like awful 20 years ago. But that's about as far as the play that you could really take this card.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that impactful, especially after all the years of cards being added. All right, so I'm going to take that as a point because I did change my mind at the last second at final answer.
Yeah, you are 100% success rate so far, so 2 out of 2. Let's go into the next one here.
Okay, this is called Maxx. Cost 2 mana or energy of some form. Not familiar with the mana system.
That's really funny you said costs. Wow. Obviously, you don't know how the layout of the card works in Yu-Gi-Oh, but this is actually a level. There are no costs in Yu-Gi-Oh. There's no requirements to do anything. Cards in Yu-Gi-Oh are played from the hand unless they just say otherwise. So as a monster, you can summon any monster from your hand, provided it's level 4 or lower. You can get into tributes in the future. It's not really necessary for this segment. But yeah, you can summon it, or you can play cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! As long as you can play them. Like, for example, the previous cards I mentioned, Foolish Burial, it's just you just activate it. It doesn't have a cost associated to it. It's just, can you use it? Can you send a monster from your deck to the grave at this moment? Yes, you can. Activate it.
Okay. Fascinating. Yep. All right. Well, then it's a level 2 card, Earth, okay? And then it's got Insect Effect. During either player's turn, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. This turn, each time your opponent special summons a monster, immediately draw 1 card. You can only use 1 Maxx per turn. Well, based on our previous discussion, the graveyard seems pretty important. So the fact that you can, interact with the graveyard, you can send it here, seems solid. Each time your opponent special summons a monster, immediately draw 1 card. I mean, card draw in card games, I think it doesn't matter what card game you're playing. Card draw is usually pretty solid. I think I lack the knowledge on how often special summons are happening. So in theory, I like getting cards every time, my opponent does something good for them. But this might not be that useful if it doesn't happen, all that often. But I feel like...
Well, I'll give you a hint. Special summoning is an integral part of the game unless your deck specifically is not a special summoning strategy. Something like a normal summon deck, like Flow Under, using only spell cards, like some sort of weird runic deck. But 90, probably 99% of the time, decks involve a lot of special summoning.
Okay, then, yeah, oh gosh, I don't know. Would you really? Okay, now my brain is going like with games. We had good card, we had bad card.
Now you're trying to metagame this.
I'm trying to meta. Where would you place the good cards and distribute them? Okay, I think that this is a good card. I feel like card draw is good. It does, I guess, cap you once per turn. So, I'm going to say good card, but in the back of my head is like maybe that just isn't quite impactful enough to justify playing it. Hard to know without knowing the power level of other cards, but I'm going to say good card.
Okay, I just want to give you a moment to consider you can choose to not special summon, right? So if you Maxx me, I can just pass to you. And you've lost a card from your hand and gotten no value. That is a possible play. Okay, so yeah, you would go to play this first, and then your opponent would have the decision and if they wanted to special summon or not. Well, then that seems pretty easy to play around. I feel like maybe you're throwing me a bone here, trying to push me in the right direction, because that kind of sways my opinion. And also, just to reiterate, it's during either player's turn, so it's a quick effect. But you can use it on your turn, just throw it out of your hand into the graveyard immediately on your turn or your opponent's turn. Whenever a special summoning is happening, you can essentially discard it or chain it to an effective special summon, and your opponent will draw 1, and then they can stop or continue. Etc., etc.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you'd have to play this first before your opponent special summons in order to get the card, right? So the fact that they could play around it, I'm going to change my answer and say bad card.
I cannot wait for the unholy wrath of the comment section to tell you, just play around, Maxx. So unfortunately, you are incorrect.
No, I should have trusted you baited me there. You tried to push me in the... Okay, it's fine.
We did a little bit of gaslighting, I'm sorry.
A little bit.
Couldn't have you have 100% win rate.
That's fair.
So, this is arguably the most powerful card ever made in the history of this game. It's so
Oh my
strong.
God, okay. Well, darn.
Special summoning is to water as it is to the ocean. It is such an important part of the game that if you activate Maxx, worst case scenario, you're probably getting you're cycling it for one draw. And in a best case scenario, you're completely shutting down your opponent. And yes, they can, in theory, stop special summoning. But guess what? They're skipping their turn.
Yeah, no. I agree. Well, I'm gonna say that my intuition was correct, and then you gaslit me into the wrong answer. So we're
Okay,
gonna go with that.
I'm the one who played it.
But it's fine. I'll accept the L on this particular round here. It's fine.
All right, next card coming up.
Okay, we got Wattkinetic Puppeteer. It's a level 4 with Psychic and Effect. Quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target one monster your opponent controls. Move that target to another of their main monster zones. Okay. Don't know much about the zones, so maybe some context there.
I'll give you some context, yeah. So similar to Maxx, first of all, is that it's a hand trap. So it's a quick effect. You can discard it from your hand into the graveyard to immediately use its effect. And as for zones in Yu-Gi-Oh!, generally super important, especially with the new rules that were made around about 2017 called Master Rule 4 involving link monsters. Link monsters are very important. They do have a lot of arrows that point to different zones, and they do things based off of that. So zones are about as important in Yu-Gi-Oh! As placement is in Hearthstone. Maybe a little bit more important in Yu-Gi-Oh! Based on my limited Hearthstone knowledge. So it's fairly important. And very important for some decks, more than others.
Well, okay, judging by the comparison to Hearthstone placement, like, in general, placement in Hearthstone isn't that important. Like, it's...
Depends on the deck.
Yeah, it depends on the deck, but I'm trying to think, like... Yeah.
So it is more important.
I feel like if you're playing around certain like AoE, you know, and like placement can be important, but generally speaking, like straightforward gameplay, there's not that many cards. Like no one plays like a Direwolf Alpha anymore, like, you know, buff effects and that kind of stuff.
Maybe I'm just old.
Wait, say it again.
Maybe I'm just old. That's
yeah, like I would say
Totem
there are certain AoE cards that might do like 15 damage or something to the minion and 3 to the right and left, right? So it's playing around stuff that probably placement matters the most, but I would venture to guess that the zones are more important in Yu-Gi-Oh! Than placement in Hearthstone. But if judging by your analysis, I'm gonna say this is a good card because one, a quick effect, like it's something that's instant speed and being able to rearrange your opponent's stuff into these zones, like seems like it could be impactful. So I'm gonna say this is a good card.
I'll let you ask me questions as well if you like. If you want to clarify anything, if you want to ask me about some context, etc., feel free.
Move that target to another of their main monster zones. Yeah, I mean, I feel, oh gosh, so it's got 1800 attack and 0 defense. Like, okay, I don't really know how the attack and defense is now broken down here. Like, is the fact that it has 0 defense terrible, you know?
I will give you a little bit of a spoiler and tell you that the stats of hand traps generally don't matter. It's because you're just immediately using them from the hand and putting them in the graveyard. You don't really care about their stats.
Then, yeah, I like I said, I think final answer, I'm going to say this. I feel like this is wrong.
Okay.
Now I'm second guessing. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a good card. Final answer.
Okay. Wattkinetic Puppeteer, unfortunately, is not a very good card. There are very specific niche scenarios where moving a card could be relevant. Maybe against a guard dragon or something like 4 years ago, potentially you could mess things up like that. But for the most part, again, it's sort of like that same situation we talked about earlier where there's just better cards that facilitate the same situation. The wild zones are really good in Yu-Gi-Oh! Really important, especially if you're playing some kind of link deck. It's actually just not really that impactful to move something. It's probably unless there's a super clutch effect that really matters in that moment, it's kind of like moving a direwolf. Like, okay, you're buffing something else, sort of. It's not that good.
Yeah. Okay. Well. All right. I like I said, I could sense when I was saying it. I'm like, this is probably not true. But I was under the impression that the zones were like more important than the placement and honestly, it's fine. All right, I've got one more in order to get a passing grade here, which
you're
is
blaming me here.
I'm a little bit blaming you. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I feel like you've been teeing these off a little. Not completely neutral.
Every single time I do this, it's always like I'm the one who's to be blamed by the comment section and everything. It's like I'm gaslighting, but okay.
Stick up for me in the comments, y'all.
Your last and final card here. This is the deal breaker. Did I pick 3 good and 2 bad, or 2 good and 3 bad?
I'm nervous. Okay. Solemn Judgment. It's a trap card. Okay. When a monster would be summoned or a spell/trap card is activated, pay half your LP, negate the life points. Pay half. Pay half of your life. Negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy the card. So, my analysis of this is essentially a counter spell of some, a counter minion or a counter
secret,
spell.
I think. Is what you call it, right? Is it a secret?
A secret, yeah. Secrets trigger on your opponent's turn in
So the
Hearthstone.
way a trap card is in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to set it, and then you wait, and then on your opponent's turn, as you pass, it becomes live and active. And you can use it at any point, unlike a secret, which I think is mandatory. Whenever it meets its activation requirement, it just happens, right?
Yeah.
So in Yu-Gi-Oh, with Solemn Judgment as an example, you can choose to hold it for a specific clutch point or something, for example, wherever you see fit.
Okay, that's really crucial information. I think this has to be a good card. Like, if you can choose if you can lay this down, gosh. But it depends. Like, are there cards that say destroy your opponent's trap card? Like, am I investing into this thing when it could just get, destroyed by my opponent? Is that a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, there are cards that beat face-down trap cards, but there are cards that beat any cards, right?
Right. Okay. I think that, in theory...
Before you get ahead of yourself and make a guess, think it out, ask me questions, whatever you need, I'm here for you.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna talk through my thoughts here. I feel like, essentially a counter spell that you can choose to activate whenever you want. Paying half your life kind of seems insane, but sometimes if you're against a combo deck of your opponent, or something, and there's like a really important summon or card, like, you would think that it's worth half your life, potentially.
Halfway there to killing you, though. That's a lot.
That is
a hefty
true.
cost.
See, I feel like you're doing the thing where you're like trying to...
Or am I?
Trying to make it seem not as good, but I think it's good.
Or am I? What's
okay.
the life points in Hearthstone? 30, right? Or is it 40?
It's 30. Yeah.
30. Okay. 15 points.
Yeah, I agree. Here's the thing, though. If you play Solemn Judgment, and maybe there are cards that counter Solemn Judgment, but then your opponent has to play something like that would counter this. Because then to me, I know half the life is sort of insane, but it would potentially be worth if it meant stopping their most powerful card or combo piece or whatever. So yeah, I'm very nervous. I want to pass. Okay, I want to get a good grade.
You're leaning quite positively, I think, in general.
I'm definitely leaning positive. I'm thinking, when a monsters, as in you could stop multiple monsters being summoned?
In theory, if there was like a pendulum summon taking place and your opponent pendulum summons 4 monsters, you could just negate and destroy the summon of all 4 of them, yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's a good card.
I love it's the plural that gets you here. For half your life points.
What's the life points in Yu-Gi-Oh again?
8,000 going all the way down to 4,000. And
Oh,
also
wow.
an important thing to note is it is a trap card. I didn't really get to focus on that too much, but remember we talked about how fast the game is. You are going to have to set this and wait before it's live one turn. I wonder if that makes you think differently, or...
Kind of does change my opinion.
It's the same in Hearthstone, right? Like, you activate a secret, it doesn't do anything immediately, right? You have to, like, you know, wait a bit until it meets a certain
But you can play other cards in the same turn with this, right? Or can you only play one card per turn?
No, you can do all the stuff and then set judgment.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stick with my answer and say that Solemn Judgment is a good card.
Oh, this is the funniest one I've had, man. That was incredible. Okay. Well, you are indeed correct. Solemn Judgment is a very good card, yes.
I was not letting you convince me out of this one. I'm like, this seems good. I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, you absolutely got it right. Your thought process was very good as well, because you correctly picked up on the fact that while it might be slow per se, you do have other cards in your hand to play with. Now, I will say that you're not going to just be maining this in every single deck in the game. Judgment may be a side deck card more than anything.
Okay.
So side decking in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a best of 3, is how every match is played at a tournament. So you have 15 cards in your side deck that you can bring in for that specific matchup after you lose game 1. So generally, if you're going to go first, you could put this in basically any deck, could just side deck Solemn Judgment. And because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so fast, the first turn is really the most important. If you just hit your opponent's really clutch important play and combo that you know, because you just know how that deck works, and you hit them on something really important with Judgment, that could just be the end of the game by itself.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, right? Like, counterspells and magic, just I think the key part for me was that it's not like Hearthstone with secrets where, you know, your opponent can trigger your counterspell just on their coin. You know, like, they can play around your secrets. The fact that you get the choice of when to use this it was the thing that sent me over the edge for that it would be good. Yeah.
And you did not get faltered at all by the life point cost. Why is that?
Nope. Health is a resource. That's it's, you know, card game 101. If it's worth it, I feel like it's it can work out. Yeah.
Big fucking brain. All right, nice. That is exactly like the saying is in Yu-Gi-Oh! The life points don't matter except the last one, despite the fact there's 8,000.
Love that. That's awesome.
So yeah, Allie, congratulations. Well done. This was very well analyzed. So yeah, thank you so much for joining and taking part. Do you have any changed thoughts or things you've noticed, I suppose, about the game as we've talked about this for a little bit?
I would say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Seems to be vastly different than most card games that I've played. Like, I think a lot have followed the digital structure of Hearthstone with their mana system and things like that. And I unfortunately did not grow up playing paper Magic or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! I missed that boat, sadly. So I would say that this is definitely outside of my wheelhouse of understanding more so. But it seems fun, and you know, now maybe just from a little bit of this, I'll be able to like watch a Yu-Gi-Oh! Stream or some content and be able to understand it a little bit more. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was fun, and you know, thank you very much for having me.
No problem. I would love to watch you play Master Duel for the first time. That would be great. It is free to play and download if you want to try it at some point. It'd be great to watch you delve into it. But yeah, where can we find you, and where can people find more of your content?
So my Twitch channel is just twitch.tv/Alliestrasza. My YouTube is also Alliestrasza, and I've also got a new YouTube channel dedicated to a new game, a card game that I'm playing parallel that I absolutely love. That's Allie with a 3. And so those 3, and I guess my socials of like Instagram, Alliestrasza _, Twitter, Alliestrasza. If you Google me, you'll find the places.
Ooh, hit him with the Google me. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
I didn't mean that in like a... oh, come on. All content creators, all you have to do is type their name in and like Twitch, or you'll find it. So if you care, you can do the research, but it's there. Anyway.
Links in the description for everyone who wants to check out some cool Hearthstone content and Parallel as well. And that'll be down below. Thanks again, Allie, for joining. Means the world for you to come on and share your thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh! I suppose, into our community. So yeah, thanks again, and see you in the next one.
All right, bye everyone. Thanks for having me.